Hi there, Stampers. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome to today's live. Today we're going to be making a Z-fold like pop-up box card. It's a combination of a Z-fold card and a card in a box. And I've seen it on Pinterest. I always wonder who to give credit to because I mean I found it back as far as Split Coast Stampers like 8 years ago. So it's not new, but I thought it was really fun to be able to use like the card in a box kind of pop-up idea and still have it fit into an A2 envelope. So I'm excited to show you how we do it. We're going to be using the Easter basket bundle. This is, from Stampin' Up in our new packaging. The magnet sheet is not included. That's a Stampin' storage thing. I can send you a link if you are interested in those. And I went ahead and I did a lot of the stamping ahead of time because it needs die cut and I don't know, when I'm on camera, the dies shift a little on me. So, and you don't want to sit here and watch me do all of this die cutting, right? So we're going to go ahead and get started on the card. The card itself starts out with a card base that is 11 inches by 4 1/4, and this is scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. So it's scored in half, and then the front is scored in half, and we're gonna bend that backwards. Okay, I did the same exact thing with a piece of Shy Shamrock, and this is 11 inches by 1 3/4 tall, and it's scored at that 275 and 5 1/2, or 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. But we're going to flip it. So I'm going to take this piece that's kind of cut the same, but I'm going to rotate it around and we're going to go this way with it. And when I attach it to the card after our DSP, that's what's going to give us that card in a box in the middle. Okay, I wanted some kind of a scene in the back, and I didn't even have to create one because that scene came straight out of the designer series paper. The Easter Joy designer series paper is a specialty pack, so I don't know if you can see, but there's some foil accents on there that are really pretty and make things pop. And then one of the pages in there was all just a bunch of pieces that you could cut down and use on your card fronts. And then I have some other designer series paper from that same pack. I've got 2 pieces here that are 2 1/2 by 4. So they're going to be here. And then I cut a strip that was, let's see, it was 1 1/2 tall and 10 1/4 long because I'm weird. I wanted the pattern to line up. It doesn't have to, but this piece was 5 1/4 by 1 1/2. And then these are 2 1/2 by 1 1/2. And so they're going to go onto the strip. And then I used the Nested Essentials dies because I wanted to put a sentiment on the front, but I didn't want anything fancy. I didn't want it to distract from our card. So I did that. And you may notice, maybe not, that the stamp is actually this way. And so I had to do a little trick to make it stacked instead of long ways. So I'll show you that. And then I stamped a bunch of the little pieces in smoky slate and then colored them with the Stampin' Blends. So there's, carrots and flowers and eggs and bunnies and all the little stuff that comes in that pack. And I'll probably end up doing more. And then there are some pieces of grass that I'm going to use in here to make that for the pop-up. So I'm missing one of my green strips. It'll show up. And then I have the back piece, which is 5 1/4 by 4. And that's what this is cut down to as well. I had to trim a little on the sides They do cut into 4-inch strips this way, but then they're 6-inch this way because it's starting with a 12 by 12. So I just kind of selectively cut down until I had 5 1/4, so it fit on my card. Oh, there's the other grass piece. Told you I had it. It's still in the die. Do you all know that all of our dies, somewhere in the set, will have a die that has the item number on it? I don't know if the light's catching that quite right, or if it's focusing. That might be our other issue. But one of the dies in the bundle at least is going to have that number on it. So if you're ever looking at a set of dies, or maybe you have a random die, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll find the one that has the item number on the back. Oh, and we're going to need some little strips too. For that pop-up box, we're going to need some little 1-inch strips. So I'm going to bring that in. But because that's the, I don't want to say complicated, but that's the part of this card you may want to see more, then we'll do that together. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use some Stampin' Seal and just apply these layers to my card pieces. And like I said, we're going to lay this down on our balmy blue base before I do the strip that's going to go across the bottom. Okay, this will probably be easier to apply while it's flat. So let's go ahead and do that too. This way. So like I said, the one side has the foil accents and then the other side doesn't. So depending on if you want to make it a fancy card or something more muted, you have choices. Okay, then I'm going to take and put some adhesive over here, because this is the part that I'm going to put over here. So I'm taking the 2 3/4 inch section and applying it to the 5 1/2. And then this one over here, I'm going to apply some adhesive right here, and then we're going to just flatten it out and then fold it down. And by flattening it out before I adhere this side, that's what makes it so it's definitely going to fold up and go into the envelope. Okay, so this would be a standard Z fold card. So you could totally work it just like this. Adding the card in a box in the middle, that's a little bit of an extra step. Like I said, I need a piece that is 1 inch. And I mean, I suppose you could use any size, but I was doing 1 inch. It just needs to hide behind the 1 3/4 that is the front. Okay. I'm going to take my scrap. I'm going to fold that in half and I'm going to stick it into the track and drag it along because I saw fuzz. And that has a tendency to give me that kind of rough edge that needs a nail file to smooth it out. Okay, this piece, what I want to do is I'm going to have a 1/2 inch. That's going to be the part I'm going to glue down. And then it's going to be 2 3/4 in between the two score lines. So I'm lining this score up with that, which makes it 3 1/4. We're going to score again. And then I'm going to move this over. I need 1/2 inch. And so that's making me 3 3/4. Okay, so these are going to be my 2 cross members that we're going to have for our box. And I want one to fold this way and one to fold this way. So it's going to make that Z once again. So I need 2 of those. And then I really want these to stick well. So I'm going to put some tear and tape. This is also going to make it easy to keep it from, you know, because the cover will be on as we're starting it, it will keep it from not adhering when I don't want it to. And then I can peel off the backing when I'm ready to have it stick. Okay, so there's those 2 pieces. And I'm going to start out on one side and just kind of pick a point where I'm going to adhere it. Okay, so it's only adhered over here, and I'm just making sure that I'm straight across the top. Then I'm going to take my second piece and do something similar. I think with the other one, I started on this side because I used the stripes as a way to keep this piece straight. So you may want to consider that. Okay, so I have not attached this other side. Okay, these are still loose. This side's attached, this is not. Then I'm going to start to close it. But you'll see what I mean is it's going to flatten out and I need it to stick over there. So this is where I'm going to hold this down and I'm going to peel off that cover. So do you see why I didn't want it to stick before I was ready? Okay, so now that side's stuck for that one. And now we're going to do the second one. So I'm going to make sure that I'm straight here, using my take your pick tool to kind of navigate in there and peel off this cover while I'm holding it all together. And then I'm going to flatten my card. So now we have 2 cross members inside the card that I can use as my pop-up. So the first thing I thought is it needs grass, right? So I cut 3 little strips of grass and then we're going to adhere them. So let's just use just a little bit of glue. I don't want too much because I don't want it messy. And it's not quite long enough to go all the way across, but I don't think that's going to matter. And I'm putting the grass on the front of these cross members because I want to put my bunnies and flowers and all that on the back side. Oh, there goes the dogs barking. Sorry about that. Pixie, no. No bark. Okay. Okay, so now we have grass. And then for my pop-up pieces, I traditionally use glue dots because I find them easy. They're small enough that they're well hidden and they attach well. And it's an instant attach too, which is nice with stuff like this. Oh, mailman, that's why they're barking. Okay. So I just put one bunny in the back. And now because I want them both to be seen when the card is open, I'm going to put this clear on the other side. And then I have the little chick. And he can go kind of anywhere because he's definitely shorter than the bunnies in the back. And then, like I said, we're going to just take some random items. Because the glue dot was wider than the stem, I'm kind of making sure that I fold the edges over so it's all in the front. Okay, so I think you're getting the idea. I'm going to just load the front of this with all these little pieces that I pre-cut out. And see, it even looks all cute when it's closed. And then it pops open for display. Okay, like I said, I'm going to use this Nested Essentials pieces. Okay, they were die cut using the Nested Essentials rectangles with the rounded corners. I did initially try to use the larger, just the white one, and I don't know, I felt like it needed something. And the next size up in order to give a border around it was just like a little bit too big. It kind of overpowered. So I really needed something that was going to fit on the littler label. But that stamp is a long one. Okay, so it's got Happy and Easter straight across. So what I did was I just kind of hovered over my ink pad and I only inked up Happy. And because I've used this today, and I know I cleaned it, but in case I didn't, I'm going to just put a Post-it note. You can use washi tape. You can use Scotch tape, any number of things. But the basic idea is I inked up only one side, and I don't want any leftover residue from this to be on my project. So I'm going to stamp Happy right there. Oops, and I'm not quite centered. See, that's why I usually have something underneath it that's a color, so I can see where my edges are. Then I'm going to reverse this, and I'm going to ink up Easter. And I'm doing it before I put the Post-it note on because I really don't want ink on the Post-it note either. See? So now I took this straight sentiment and made it a stacked sentiment instead. Now I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. And then I'm going to adhere the other piece flat. Okay, so I wanted something a little fun, so I put that in at kind of an angle. And then I'm just going to add a little something underneath it. Okay, so now we're ready for the back of our card. And so like I said, I'm going to use a piece of basic white, but I had this piece left over. I did another project a while back, and it needed me to cut off this corner. And I couldn't bear to throw it away. I don't know why. I kept them, and I didn't know what I was going to do with a big corner. And I thought about just putting the one corner on there, and it's okay, but it's a little bit big. So what I thought I would do is split it and bring this down here and leave that up there. So it's a way to decorate the back of the card, have it coordinate with the front, but my biggest thing was it was using a scrap of paper that, because it's specialty paper, it wasn't, our cheaper one. And I didn't want to waste any of it. So this allowed me to do that. Okay, and then I'm going to just put a little bit there. And then the way I laid this down is I just kind of kept an eye on the stems and kept my stems straight up and down and laid it across. And I need to go over a little because I want to make sure that the edges, the points, are off the edge. And then I'm going to turn it over and cut from the back. And there we go. And this set didn't have a really good inside sentiment, I didn't feel. So I kind of left it blank. The other thing I could do is I could, punch out a few more characters and maybe put a bunny on the back. Something, but thought somebody might find that little tip about using that corner helpful. I mean, and maybe you don't add the one in the bottom if you only like the top one. I mean, that's fine too. It's your card and you can do what you like. Okay, I have a little bit of excess glue over there, so I have my adhesive remover, so that'll take that off. And there is our finished card. And then I showed you guys that I am now keeping my stamps in the case by, I stamped the whole thing when I first got it. And then I'm going to take this clear, like the thinner piece, and I'm going to lay it over the basic white. And then after I clean my stamps, I'll be able to lay them down and stick them to the thin plastic in the spot where they belong. Oops, it's this guy over here. And this is going to allow them to all match up correctly and all fit back onto the little piece. Because I don't know about you, but I never figure out how they got everything to fit onto some of those die cases especially. And now I can take this piece and I can match up the pieces that were already on my sheet. And now it's all matched up again. And the added bonus is by doing all of that, I could have laid everything down and probably made it fit. I mean, eventually, I could have moved things around and it all would have fit, but it wouldn't have told me that that piece is missing. So now I know I need to find that stamp on my desk and then I can put it away. So hopefully that helps somebody. I did see somebody was converting all of these to their DVD cases by cutting this out and sticking this on the front of the case. And then they took a full size, that size, you know, that would fit the DVD case. And they stamped all the images on a piece that big. And then they put that in the case, you know, behind here. So then it would be on the inside of the case and we could store them the way we used to. So several ideas and you can pick which one you like and go forward from there. But there is today's Z-Fold pop-up box card. So I hope you found something helpful today, whether it be the little tips or just the making of the card and figuring out the dimensions and all of that good stuff. So thank you for being here, and I will see you again on Thursday for another card. Thanks so much. Bye.